A lot of you, after watching this video, you're going to call me crazy, but I'm going to tell you something that I truly believe, and that is the Cleveland Browns job is better than the Dallas Cowboys job. Yes, you heard me right. I believe that the Cleveland Browns job offers more opportunity than the Dallas Cowboys. For starters, Jerry Jones is a meddler. He will not get out of the way of the Cowboys operations. In order to have a successful franchise, one that's going to compete for Super Bowls, one that's going to succeed going into the future and build something, a stable organization, you're going to need a coach that is empowered to make decisions, a coach that is empowered to discipline, a coach that has full say over the roster, just so that you can't go down the hall and go talk to Jerry Jones. Now, Jerry might say that we're going to evaluate, Jerry might say that we're interested in change, but Jerry Jones is 77 years old and he's shown no willingness and no ability to make any sort of changes. He has been a meddler the entire time, and the only time that he has won, or that the Cowboys have won a championship, and they won multiple, was when Jerry took his hands off, gave the franchise to Jimmy Johnson, and they continued to win games. While Jerry is meddling with the team, he is unable, or I should say the coach is unable to make the proper adjustments and control the team. Now, I know you're going to say Cleveland is a dumpster fire. Okay, fair. Cleveland has had 5 coaches in 8 years of Jimmy Haslam's ownership. Also fair. But where you see despair and distress and disaster, I see an opportunity for a figure like Urban Meyer, somebody who demands respect, somebody who has the respect of men, who can walk into a room and be the alpha immediately. And when you're going into the negotiations with the Cleveland Browns, you can walk in like a John Gruden and say, this is the general manager I want, and I want final say on the roster. And you have a very good chance of getting that. That's not going to happen in Dallas. Jerry's the GM, and Jerry should honestly be the coach. In Cleveland, you have a problem: instability, inflexibility, crazy disaster, dumpster fire. I get that. But you're able to come in and dictate terms. So where you see problems, I see opportunity. Dallas is like a Fortune 500 company that's been around too long. Think of a paper company, General Electric, somebody who is rigid in their ways. They're not changing. Now, their stock and their name brand is beautiful, but what is their operation? Where you have Cleveland, let's compare them to a startup. They're similar to a startup. They haven't been around that long. Jimmy Haslam's only owned the team for 8 years. That's not long in the scheme of things. I am much more confident in my ability to change Jimmy Haslam's abilities and how Jimmy Haslam does things than Jerry Jones has been doing the same thing for 30 plus years. So I have leverage with Cleveland. That's reason number 2. And on the sports wrap up, I talk about, if you listen to the sports wrap up, I talk about Baker, and I'm totally out on Baker. So I'm standing by that. But if I'm a coach and I'm looking at Dak Prescott versus Baker Mayfield, those are my 2 options. I'm taking Baker Mayfield. I'm going to roll the dice on Baker Mayfield. By the way, I didn't draft him, so I don't have to stick with him going forward. I can go with somebody else. Do you think Jerry's going to let you off the hook? Do you think Jerry's going to let Dak walk? That's never going to happen. You're going to be paying $30, $35 million to Dak Prescott, where I have Baker on his rookie contract, and I'm out on Baker Mayfield because of his attitude. One of the best things that happened to Baker Mayfield is this bad season. I do believe that, because Baker has always been a walk-on. He's always been somebody with a chip on his shoulder. The worst thing that ever happened to Baker Mayfield was being drafted number 1. Okay, the number 1 draft pick for Baker Mayfield gave him a sense of entitlement. He knew people were beholden to him. Their careers depended on his performance, and nobody could tell him anything. Well, now guess what, Baker? You have a new regime coming in. You have a new coach. If I'm the new coach, I give Baker 1 year on his rookie contract, shape up, or I can move off of you. Would it be a disaster for Cleveland? Yes, it would be, definitely. But as a coach coming in, as a new general manager, he's not your guy. It's not your fault. You can't be held responsible for it. So Baker Mayfield's going to have to shape up. And I like Baker Mayfield's talent a lot more than I like Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has the leadership abilities, but as a natural thrower, I'm not in love with Dak Prescott, and I got to pay him $35 million, and then I have to pay the offensive line. They're already taking up 31% of the cap. So you're really having a problem with salary cap. Who are you going to add? How are you going to help Dak Prescott? How are you going to make him better? It's going to be all on you, coaching, gimmick, scheme. It's going to be very difficult to do. And I would not like that. So in Cleveland, I get a better quarterback on talent if I can shape up his attitude. And if his attitude doesn't shape up, I'm shipping him out. I have leverage and flexibility to have last say on the roster, and I don't have to deal with Jerry Jones. But beyond that, the Cleveland Browns roster is nearly as talented. You could argue more talented on offense, certainly, than the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not really giving up a lot in talent in this comparison between Dallas and Cleveland. I see a lot of ability with this roster. You can ship off Odell Beckham for a lot of assets. I never thought Odell Beckham fit. I love Odell Beckham. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's very entertaining, but I don't see Odell Beckham being the guy for Cleveland. I see him more in LA, more in the New York role. He's more of a celebrity than he is a player in a lot of ways. So just ship him off if you need to. You got plenty of weapons. You got Jarvis Landry. You got David Njoku. You need offensive linemen. You need draft picks to get that line up. Because Baker Mayfield, going back to Baker, he can become very successful if you take away the issues that he's had with the offensive line. So we got 4 points going on. You don't have to deal with Jerry Jones, and you can make change because you have leverage. That's point 1 and 2. I have a more talented quarterback in Baker Mayfield, and I have an equally talented roster, if not very close. You could argue between the two. In order to turn around the Cowboys or the Browns, you're going to need institutional control. Both are underachieving teams. Both have a lot of talent, a lot of abilities. There's just no structure. There's no control. So if you're a figure like Urban Meyer, I would go ahead and talk to the Cleveland Browns. Now, full disclosure, do I think Urban Meyer is going to be coaching in the NFL this year? No. But if I'm a coach that I believes in my structural abilities, somebody who I can work with the GM, Cleveland has said they're willing to give you a list of GMs and who do you want to work with? Who do you want to hire? Who do you want to be your guy? So they're already giving out the fact that they're going to be flexible with you and give you a lot more control. And where a lot of you see despair and distress and terrible in Cleveland, and you see this shiny apple at the top of the tree with Dallas. Dallas is they've not been excellent for a long time. They walk the walk. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And that is the issue that I see with Dallas. If I am Urban Meyer, if I'm a coach that has experience, I'm going to choose the Cleveland Browns over the Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead and @ me, bro. Hit me up in the comments section and tell me what you think.